All right, so we talked about a lot of the differences so far, some of the major differences, and where you should really look at the democratic policy and ask, what's going wrong with that policy, right? Why is it insufficient? And we hit on a few reasons why. So now let's turn and talk more specifically about what the Eco-Socialist Green New Deal is actually going to do. And the Eco-Socialist Green New Deal is split into two major parts. And one is the Green Economy Reconstruction Program, which does a number of things. It overhauls our electric system to be completely renewable energy interstate electric grid. It supports greening our buildings, with energy efficiency, heat pumps, all the upgrades to, maximize our energy use, or lower our energy use, maximize efficiency. Overhaul our transportation system to have a public transit system that's electrified, again, no carbon emissions. And that includes high-speed rail to really upgrade our aging rail infrastructure. And, as we've seen, there's been rail derailments lately that they've been going on for a long time, but, they've really been, happening a lot recently with more media coverage and urgency because of things like the East Palestine derailment, which again is not that far from me. Lots of stuff happening in my neighborhood. So, but regenerative agriculture is also a big one. Agriculture is an aspect that we tend not to think of, but the way that the corporate factory farm agriculture is done today contributes a lot to carbon emissions. So we have to overhaul that into a more regenerative agriculture structure. That's not slashing forests to create more farmland or anything like that. It's got to be regenerative. And while we're doing that, we can rebuild our water infrastructure to make sure that everyone is getting clean water. There's so many cities, right? Flint still doesn't have water, right? Or clean water. And so many cities around the U.S. are in that same scenario where there's, lead pipes or increasingly the water supplies are being contaminated by, fracking and fossil fuel liquids and stuff. So we need to build up clean water infrastructure for everyone.
And chemicalized agriculture.
Yeah, true. Chemical runoff from agriculture and all. So we need to upgrade manufacturing recycling, which solar panels and wind turbines and all are like pretty much entirely recyclable if you have the facilities available. And so far they haven't been because capitalism has not prioritized those. So we can create those things and create, very cyclical economies where we're recycling, old things into new things and using them locally. And finally, just the internet has become such an important part of modern life that we need an interstate high-speed internet connection to make sure everyone is connected to the network for communication purposes, right? For freedom of speech and political reasons and all, but as well as school and education and all. It's a great tool for learning from each other and learning with each other. So we're trying to completely overhaul our the way our economy works. And we recognize that that's going to be such a big change compared to the way economics works today, to the way our communities operate today, that it's going to require a just transition. It's going to require a program to make sure that nobody's left behind in that transition, that everyone is benefiting from it and, gets all of the positive stuff from it. So in addition to this Reconstruction program, there's also the Economic Bill of Rights, which makes sure that everyone gets health care through a Medicare for all type single payer program toward a national health service, which is community owned and publicly owned and locally controlled, locally administered, to make sure that that healthcare system is meeting the needs of the communities that they serve. We want to make sure that there's green housing for all. So like we were saying about renters earlier, right? Like, everyone has to have housing that, has heat pumps and all of the things necessary to make them very livable for the circumstances we're going to be living in. We want to talk about job and income guarantees to make sure that everyone, gets the basic needs for life covered, whatever your situation is. That includes expanding Social Security to make sure that everyone has a retirement, whereas Democrats are trying to raise the retirement age and cut spending and privatize it and all that stuff. And then finally, a big chunk of this transition is that we're going to have to do debt relief. The old world is kind of going away, and so we have to kind of wipe that clean there and get rid of all of the debt from the old system. And so that means forgiving student debt and medical debt and other things that go along with it. So, yeah.